It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is with us in the booth, and you are watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, 790 The Score in Rhode Island. Anywhere you podcast, you can pick us up and give us a call in heated hotline, 855-313-PATS. Anything's on the table 24/7. Joe's going to pick one. Like I always say, let it be yours. Have a take, right, Mark? Have a take.
You got to have a take.
Have a take. 855-313-7287. Or, hey, you can email us in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, listen, you want to advertise on the show? Sponsorships are available, so give us an email. Send us an email, right, Mark? You don't say give it an email.
Just send.
Give it, write it, whatever.
Joe, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I do know the email address, and it's corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, listen, have a good one today. In Pat's Nation, Jerod Mayo, the next coach of the New England Patriots, or the head coach.
He is the head coach now, yeah.
And we're going to talk about that and our state of the union, basically, state of the team, state of the Patriots. And, of course, Catone's comments. You never want to miss that. And in B's and C's, we're going to have our midseason grades for both teams, so stick around for that. And in Weekly Rewind, we're going to talk the NFL Super Wildcard Weekend last week and going to preview those division games coming up this weekend or today and tomorrow. And, of course, give you some picks, too. See if you can win some money. Gentlemen, how are we feeling?
Hey.
Let me tell you, Chris, a lot happening this week. A lot happening.
It's a new day, the dawn of a new, right? I mean,
what the heck is that?
It is.
Hey, listen.
Hilarious now.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, hey, it's all new stuff. New things are happening all around with the New England Patriots. So let's welcome in the Pats Nation and go over some of that. So the 15th head coach and the Patriots history was named this week, or pretty close this week, gave his press conference.
Press conference, yeah.
Is Jerod Mayo the I guess he was the defensive coordinator. We don't know, but he coached on the defensive side of the ball, as we all know, played for the Patriots, was drafted in 2008, spent his whole career with the New England Patriots in either playing or coaching. And now he's the head coach of the New England Patriots, Mark. I have a lot of notes on this tonight, Mark, today. So,
all right, what do you got?
Well, give me your impressions, just generally speaking. I want to get into the press conference. I want to talk about that. We want to talk about, was he the right choice? As you and I think, both agree he wasn't. But what are your initial impressions of this?
So here's the thing, Chris. By all accounts, he's an extremely smart man when it comes to football acumen and understanding the game. And I think he has that. He understands that, at least from the defensive side of the ball, Chris, right? Yeah. However, at this point in time, based on what we just observed for 17 games, in my opinion, and I think you agree, I would have went after an young offensive-minded coach from Shanahan's tree, McVay, one of those guys, much like the OC from the Texans, right? The young OC from the Texans.
That's
right?
what I wanted.
I know you did, but you wouldn't get him, but you could have brought in the next one that was like him, right? But not only did they not do that, Chris.
No, I wanted him for a head coach.
Head coach. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. But Chris, not only did they not bring him in for a head coaching position, they didn't even interview anybody. So you don't want to know what other guys think the issue is with your team. You could have gotten some information about, listen, here's my plan for your organization, just to see what they see from the outside looking in, because you've just been on the inside and all Mayo's ever known has been Belichick. I just think it was a mistake, Chris. Just the whole process itself, never mind hiring him. I think that was a mistake as well. But the whole process, Chris, I think was flawed.
I mean, Kraft said, I trust my instincts. And the one time I didn't trust my instinct was in
all right.
'96 when I
All
let
right.
Belichick stay with Parcells. And I hired Carroll. He didn't say his name, but he hired Carroll. I didn't trust my instinct then. Well, I trusting my instinct now. Here's the problem that I have too. I'm with you. You could still trust your instincts, but do your homework too.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't interviewed anybody for this job in a quarter of a century. Okay, let me say it again. 24 years. Yeah. So I would think it would behoove you to get out there in the world and figure out what's out there, just to, even if you don't want to hire Slowick or Ben Johnson, the OC over in Detroit, even if you don't want to hire these guys, at least you do the diligence. You get some information from them. You get some ideas as to what an offense should be, what it should look like, blah, blah, blah. None of it. They promised him this job 2 years ago, basically.
Yeah. Listen, I understand, Chris, you had a succession plan to move on from Bill at some point, but
yeah, but stuff happens, Mark, in between then and now.
No, I know that. That's what I was going to say. But based on the year you just had, I would have said to Mayo, listen, we have a succession plan for you. However, we still want to conduct some interviews and make sure that we're making the right decision. And if he said at that point, well, screw you, I'm not waiting around. Okay, well, see ya. I mean, but this is the process we're going to do. It's going to take 2 weeks or so. And then at the end of the day, maybe we still hire you. But because we were 4-13, we have to open this up. I don't see why they couldn't have did that. Why? Because would there have been a breach of a contract, Chris? Because there was a succession plan? I don't know.
No, I mean, the contract only, I don't know what the contract said. Let me just say that. But I don't think it barred them from conducting interviews. Okay. They may have avoided the Rooney Rule based on the fact that they submitted that contract to the league prior to the season, which means I think that's a succession plan and you don't have to interview people. It doesn't mean you can't. So, I mean, yeah, I'm with you. And then the whole idea of you don't bring it. Look, most organizations, you bring a GM in. The GM has a vision for what he or she wants to do, right? And how they want to build. And then you go and hire the head coach, as a tool to get that done, right?
Normally, typically.
What am I missing then?
Listen, like you said, Chris, they haven't done this in 24 years. And I don't know. I mean, they have talent in the building that they're evaluating. What the hell is that?
So, okay.
What most companies do. This is New England. We got a guy. He's going to come in. He's going to do the job. That's how it works. No interviews.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about his other companies, and obviously you can't argue with his success. With Bob Kraft's success. You can't do that, obviously. But, things change over time. I mean, this keep it in the family business, okay, and that's fine to do. But then, expect what to expect. Because at the end of the day, we don't know these things. We don't know if Mayo's going to be archaic. We don't know if his lack of experience outside the organization is going to hurt. We don't know any of that yet.
No.
But going to the press conference, I think we could glean some things from that. Okay. And I want to get your impressions of it because I got a list of things that I'm looking at wondering, first, Mark, did you hear anything about football in that press conference or much about it?
No. He spoke about, he wants to, he's a developer of people and men. And he wants to have people on his staff that are developers of people. But did he talk about, like, I just said at the beginning of the show that I think he has a good football acumen, and I think he's smart when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. I don't know. I think he does, but he didn't speak of any of that during the press conference, Chris. I mean, it was like you were speaking about you were getting a job in a company and you're talking about leadership and leadership development and leading of personnel. And that's fine, but you're a head football coach in the NFL. And then they asked him about,
they threw him softballs too.
They did. And then they asked him, Chris, about a defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. Well, he named them. And he said, well, titles matter. And that was a shot at Bill, right?
Yeah.
Because Bill.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Right?
The shot, what.
No, but he says, I believe in titles. Titles matter. So basically telling you I will have a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator. And the thing that I found very interesting, Chris, is so Bill O'Brien, everyone keeps saying, well, O'Brien's probably going to be back. Then you hear, well, maybe, he's going to follow Belichick. But here's the thing, Chris. He's under contract.
Right.
So Mayo never said we have an OC under contract. It's we're going to be, evaluate and bring in people and determine who that will be. And people internally will get consideration. But he's technically got an OC under contract. So that tells me he probably wants to move on from O'Brien.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
But Chris, you're right. He didn't mention anything about a real vision. He talked about collaboration. Okay, collaboration. What the heck? Anybody could talk about collaboration.
Yeah. Outwardly, titles make a difference because it matters for people's advancement. But internally, it's collaboration. And yeah, I mean, you don't have to tell us your plan, but like your specific plan, but at least talk about, hey, looking at today's game, this and that. Nothing really about football, more so about people. And, a lot of people are bitching and complaining about the fact that, the personnel was there along with the media. It was more of a PR event. And all of these things are. Anytime they're introducing a new coach, it's always that kind of thing, especially when you're introducing a coach that's taking over the best, probably in the last 20 years, the best franchise in sports. Yeah, that's going to make a difference. But what I want to ask you is some of the comments that were made. So, he gets up there. He seems pretty confident, right? Now, a lot of people are saying, well, he dogged Bill pretty good in this press conference, which did he do that? Or did he just basically want to separate himself and say, hey, look, I'm not him? When he makes comments like this, and then you remark, I don't want there to be an echo chamber. I'm not Bill. I mean, he flat out said it. I'm not Bill. Okay. Mm-hmm. Titles we talked about. We want to rebuild relationships. Okay. Mm-hmm. Which, indicates that they were broken. All right. From the previous administration. No silos. I had to get away from Bill.
Oh, that was when he left for a while.
Yeah, when he left for a while. But, the echo chamber, no silos. I want people that are going to tell me no, that are going to not just yes me to death, basically, is what he's saying. Now, is that because he's just, I want to differentiate myself from Bill, or this is how I really feel, and I just want you to know that, or am I pissed off at the way he was and how he is, and now I need to let you people know that this was dysfunctional and it's not going to be this way anymore? Like, what was he accomplishing there?
I think it's a combination, Chris, of a couple of things. I think, yes, he was definitely distinguishing himself from Bill, and I think he had to because he played for him, coached under him, and leading up to that press conference, that was one of the critiques, like, what's this guy's experience? Where's he been outside of this organization? So I think he had to distinguish himself as, hey, I'm not Bill, and he threw some of those comments out there, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing, Chris, that I think he said or as well was, so he kept bringing up how he's and he did this, Chris, when they talked to him about, people inside the building don't have a good vision of him. Remember a couple of weeks ago, that whole article came out, and I think
he rubbed people the wrong way.
He rubbed people the wrong way.
That was the report.
And I think he was big about, he was really referencing like relationships, but leadership and having players hold each other accountable, and like guys like he did, Brady did, guys like Brewski and those guys. And he referenced that. He even went to the detail, Chris, of talking about the weight room. What I don't know what that was all about, but he made it a point to bring up watching the players in the weight room. So what were people dogging it? Like, what was going on?
Yeah, see, those are the comments. So the stuff that was directed at the players, and Mac Jones was there. They didn't even give him a special seat. He was standing back there with all the other riffraff. But he doesn't want guys in there basically that bitch and complain. No complainers. I don't want finger pointers. I want leaders, energy, The weight room makes a difference. I see it, all that. No complainers. Ow, that
Chris,
may
it
be
was
directed
almost like he was giving like a quick synopsis of what went wrong here last year in 2 minutes or less. And
Yeah.
he just hit on like 5 or 6 or 7 different things that went wrong here last year, and basically saying that's not going to happen with me.
Right. So we're going to go to break. I want to come back. I want to pick this up right on the other side where we're talking leaders, energy, weight room, no complainers, no finger pointers. Who's he talking to, Mark? And is he talking about the weight room because he can't talk about the other stuff because he doesn't know yet what the hell he's doing on the offense, the defense? So we're going to talk about the weight room. All that and more. No flipping.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's
crackers?
it.
What is wrong with
Get him on this damn
you?
show.
Lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Back in with Corso and Catone. We are the real deal, New England Field. Mark, it's Saturdays, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday. Make sure you email us. You want Mark to do a read for your company? Go ahead, email us in, corso.catone@gmail.com. So, Mark, on the front side of that, we were talking about the message to the players, and I mentioned all of those things that he said. So the weight room comment, you can glean a lot from the weight room. Is it that you're just not prepared to be able to talk about the offense, talk about the defense, talk about your vision for things? Is this just a whirlwind of things? So we're just going to talk about the weight room and builder of people, and then the message to the players. What do you think? Who's he talking to?
I think he could talk about the defensive side of the ball, Chris, obviously, but offensively, I don't necessarily, and I don't think he was. I don't want to say he wasn't able to, but I don't think he has an idea of what the offense will be, because he also made it a point to say that he's going to lean on the experts in the room and have his opinion. And I think that lends itself to he's going to be the expert and he'll have decision making within that. But whoever the OC ends up being is going to be the person who designs that side of the ball, right? And I also think, Chris, he wanted to shy away from too much about what his vision was and what he thinks needs to be changed, because might have been a little bit out of respect for Belichick, but also because Bill had such a football IQ and knowledge of football. Let's not get into that just yet. We'll ease into that. This is like
so I don't look stupid.
Yeah, it's an opening press conference. Let's all kiss and shake hands, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the thing. What pisses me off about that, okay, is, and that time will tell, because what irritates the crap out of me is when you're asked questions like, what's your offensive vision? What are your thoughts on, offensive play in the NFL? You don't need to go specific about what you're going to do, but at least give some sort of an idea. So you leave me wondering, Jerod, do you know what you're talking about at all? Are you, Mark, you made a comment before the show started. You can't about the airplane.
Well, so a lot of what the reason I came up with that comment, Chris, was because they're talking about, collaboration, and we're gonna evaluate, the talent we got inside, and listen, it's like they're flying they're building the plane as they're flying it, Chris. You can't fly the plane and build it at the same time. But this is what it sounds like they're doing. And that's scary when you have all that salary cap money and the number 3 pick in the draft, and you're going to build a plane while you're flying it. When this is a crucial time in your franchise history, that's scary. Yeah,
it's irritating because, look, you got an opportunity there, to basically say, and it's not like he was shy about saying anything else. He talked about, all the great things and the inclusion stuff and all this. He's not shy about talking about this stuff. He's not shy about dogging the way it was and what he doesn't want. Okay. So throw me a little bit of, hey, this was unacceptable. The way the offense performed was unacceptable. Bottom 10. Give me some stats. Bottom 10 in the league. worst offense in the league in 10 years. So changes
Yeah.
have to be made. They're going to be made. We're going to grow up in this offense. We're going to get something that works, that's modern, that gets points put on the board, and that's how we're going to roll here. And we're going to do things like that. Got none of that. None of that.
Yeah.
So now I'm left wondering, okay, so fine. I'm left wondering, okay, you don't want crybabies in the locker room. Got it. You want to collaborate with people. Got it. And is that because you just don't know or whatever? So we'll figure that out. But if he cans O'Brien, okay, that goes a long way for me.
Well, Chris, how do you not can the guy that was in charge of the worst offense, one of the worst offenses in years, not even just last year? How do you keep him?
I don't know. And the other thing too is, because I want to get into the position grades right now, but this goes to GM stuff now too.
Yeah.
Because now they're talking about picking a GM, and we got Elliott Wolf sitting here, and we got Groh. Now Groh, to me, is going to go wherever Belichick goes.
It seems like, Chris, he's just waiting for Belichick to sign somewhere, and he's gone.
Yeah,
and,
which, by the way, will probably be Atlanta, not Dallas, because Dallas re-upped McCarthy. Yeah. So it probably won't be Atlanta, So Belichick will go to Atlanta and do really well, right?
Well, Blake will let him do whatever he wants. He don't care what he does. He just wants to, So.
Yeah, but again, here, so you keep Elliott Wolf. These are the same guys. They had some hand in what was going on.
Elliott Wolf, Chris, from what I've gathered, has experience in other organizations. It's not just a Bill guy, right? Bill did have a relationship with his father, but he's gained knowledge from the Green Bay. He was with Cleveland. And whether or not he becomes GM, he may just become elevated within the player development and draft area, and maybe they still bring in a GM. But that GM, Chris, they're saying may not come in before the draft.
Which is I don't even understand.
It may be after the fact.
And the GM's important because of what we're about to say. So, Mark, looking at this team, we talk about the state of the Patriots right now, okay? And, we may not have time to get into the free agents. We could do that next week. But position grades. Let's talk about the grades because the GM counts for this.
Can I start with my favorite position?
Start with wide receiver.
Wide receiver. F. Failure. F.
Yeah.
Chris, that group is horrendous.
Yeah. No speed, no separation, no strength, no hand skills, no ball skills, no football intelligence that I can see.
So who do you keep in that room? You keep Pop Douglas and
no one.
Well, Pop Douglas maybe, right? But listen, Chris, I read this week. Was it Thursday or Friday? That they're reaching out to Kendrick Bourne. Let him go. Why are you reaching out? Why? Because you can get him. Bob Kraft can get him for 2 cents. So he's good to keep.
Look,
because you'll get him for 2 cents.
Bottom line is, hey, Kraft, you wanted your team back? It's already starting. You can already hear it out there. Kraft meddled. It's all going to be on you, man. So you better be right. So
Chris, quickly, wide receiver F, offensive line,
running back.
Running back.
Go to the offensive line.
Offensive line is an F, right? F. You need tackle. You need a left tackle. You need some depth. You need guard depth. And if
we don't know what's going to happen with Andrews.
You don't know what's going to happen with Andrews. He's debating retirement. And if Owenu leaves, you need 2 tackles, Chris.
Yeah, you have nothing.
You have nothing. The offensive line, you don't even have an offensive line coach. The offensive line is a shambles.
That's important, too. You got to get a coach in there. Got to get a coach. Okay, so that's an F.
That's an F. Huh?
Quarterback.
F.
Sort of an important position.
F.
F based on complete dysfunction.
Hey, Chris, they're talking this week about, how Kraft meddled in that position, and he was the one for Jones, and blah, 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 blah. Listen, bottom line is this, Chris. If Belichick didn't want to draft Mac Jones, he wouldn't have drafted Mac. He would have drafted a quarterback. It wouldn't have been Mac. He would have said to Bob, I can't take this kid. He took him. I'm not going to go through the story about what happened, but they're saying, if it wasn't for Bob, there would have been a competition between him and Zappi. A competition for what? They both stink. Yeah. Who's worse? What was the competition going to be? Who's worse?
From bad to worse. Mark, the vultures are flying. They're flying over Kraft's head now. They're redirecting all their crap because it's good for talk radio.
Chris, running back is the one position I mean, Ramondre Stevenson, I don't know what happened to him this year, but I think he is still serviceable and can play. And I'm going to tell you something, Chris. I'd bring Elliott back. I thought Elliott played really well. I mean, that'd be a guy, if I was Mayo, I'd pick up the phone and say, hey, if you can go win a Super Bowl somewhere, I understand that. But if you don't get offers from one of those teams, we want you back, because I think he played really well.
I want Elliott back. I don't want Stevenson. Okay.
Okay.
The bottom line is,
Stevenson,
you know,
maybe
I'll
get
give
rid
the
of him.
running backs. I'll give the running backs a B minus, whatever. But I don't want him. What I want is Pacheco.
Yeah.
I want a new style, the new age White.
Yeah. And at tight end, Chris, just quickly, because
When
I know
he was
you
here.
want to talk about defense a little bit. Quickly, tight end, Chris. I don't know. What do you give Hunter? Gesicki was a bum. You called it.
I mean,
You said he
Henry
would be a
played.
bum.
I thought
Plus
Hunter
Henry
Henry
is-
was the only. Yeah, B.
B. I'd give Hunter Henry a B. And I guess if you could get him back on a good deal, I'd bring him back.
I think Gesicki's an F. He's junk. He
junk.
was junk
He's
when
junk.
we signed him. We thought he was, and that's the way it is. So offensively,
Yeah.
you have a
lot of help.
GP. You have a GPA of like what, 0.2 or something like that. You know,
You're on academic probation.
You're on
If
academic
you want to do
probation on offense.
GPA.
So, and especially in the coaching room, you better get someone who's new.
How about
Defensively,
defense,
Mark.
Chris?
Well, okay, so defensive front. We'll start with them. I give the defensive line an A to an A minus on the season. I
And
don't know
Chris,
if you can give anybody an A on the team, but I would say, you know, a good A minus. They played well. The
and
ends
Chris,
played well.
I would bring that coach back, the D line coach back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they played good contain. They sealed edges. They got good pressure. They got pressure from the inside. Barmore had a monster year. You don't need Uche anymore because the other kid
Jennings.
they draft Jennings and then the kid they drafted
Keon White.
Keon White. So defensive front, I give him an A minus. I'm going to leave the middle for a second. I put the outside linebackers in there as well. I thought they were good. I thought Jennings was good. I thought, you know, and this was without Judon too. This went on.
Yes, it was.
The secondary. I like the safeties. I thought the safeties play well, particularly Peppers. Okay, there were a lot of injuries in that defensive backfield. I think it's clear Phillips doesn't need to be there anymore. I think they can let Duggar go now because he's not good in the passing game, right? But he's good in the run game. But I think you re-sign Peppers, so I'm okay with the safety spot. They need a center fielder. Okay, so I give that group a B. You know, a solid B. Corners. Nah, I mean corners. You're talking D plus C minus with corners, Mark.
And you don't know, Chris.
They were injured.
They were injured, so it could end up being a better grade if Christian Gonzalez becomes a complete shutdown corner.
And Marcus Jones.
He could. Marcus Jones was out all year. You know,
and it was dysfunctional, that room with J.C. Jackson and
what's
Jones.
his name? Jack Jones. Yeah,
Jack Jones. But the other Jones needs to play better. That they gave money to. So that room I give that grade to. And now the middle of the field, Mark. Okay. The off-ball linebackers, particularly Bentley and Tavai. Now, people love Tavai, Mark.
They do.
They love him. They think he's fantastic. Hey, listen, morons out there that like Tavai, go turn on this weekend San Francisco 49ers when they play. And you tell me what a middle linebacker looks like after watching that game. Seriously. F. Is there an F minus? Is there a G? You got to give a grade that's a G? And what's later in the alphabet? Z. Give them the worst thing you could possibly give them because they suck. Period. They suck. And guess what? Our head coach was a middle linebacker.
Oh, my God.
And our middle linebacker sucks.
Listen. And I'm going to tell you what, Chris, you talk about that San Francisco game. The kid that you liked in the draft that plays for Green Bay, Kay Walker, is no slouch either. That kid's all over the field. So those are guys that we should be looking into bringing in.
That's it. I quit. That's it.
Yeah.
No, I quit. I'm done.
Yeah,
I can't handle it anymore.
Joey.
Can't deal with the friggin' Patriots anymore.
But anyway, bottom line is, Chris, there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of work to do in free agency, in the draft. And the question you and I both
we didn't cover special teams, but overall, that's
forget about
great
F.
too.
The question we both have on January 18th, well, we're filming on the 18th, but at this point of the year, Chris, is who's going to make the final decisions on free agents and on the draft? Because Jerod Mayo made an off the cuff comment to WBZ that, hey, about the draft. He's like, well, we're going to draft the best player available at a very important position.
You fill in the blanks or
you
whatever.
fill in the blanks. What the hell does that mean?
Means I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know. So stick around because we know what we're talking about. You keep it up for the coming weeks. We're going to enlighten you on what they should do. So Pat's Nation was presented by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CORSOLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, we come back. Buckle up. Catone's Comments is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help.
Time for Catone's Comments!
So this week, right, we got Mayo hired, right? So this week, I've been hit with a question. And the question I've gotten from numerous people this week is, now that Belichick's gone, are the Patriots in danger of becoming the Red Sox? That's it. That's a taboo word, the Red Sox. So that really made me think, especially this week, about the Red Sox. And where are the Red Sox? It's it's the middle of January. Couple of more weeks, pitchers and catchers are going to report. Oh, by the way, I don't know who they brought in for pitcher. They brought in one guy who's a journeyman. Okay. This week, Tom Warner, who says, one of the owners, he says, when I said we were all in this offseason, I was misunderstood. He says, I said we'll do whatever it takes to compete, but it's a collective effort. There's not one solution, a magic bullet. What the hell does that mean? So now you're backing off. We're going to do whatever it takes to compete because you've done nothing. You've spent no money. You've done nothing. That's almost like it's going to be collective effort, and we're going to collaborate. That's like a comment the Patriots made this week. Doesn't that sound familiar? And then Breslow, the GM, right? So this week, he gets interviewed, and they ask him, are the Red Sox serious about winning? Like, what's going on? And he actually says, now this is the general manager of the Red Sox, actually says, well, that's a fair question. And I quote now, as I've gotten to know the organization better, he says, through conversations I've had with ownership, they absolutely are still supportive of assembling a World Series team as quickly as they possibly can. But I think the reality is that it's going to require a step forward from young position players. It's going to require the build out of a talent pipeline of arms that we acquire and that we draft and that we develop internally. As it's going to require aggressive player development in the minor leagues and major leagues. What the hell are you talking about? Are you kidding me? So basically, this is Heim Bloom 2.0. It's a 4 or 5 year process. You're not winning anytime soon. They bullshitted. Excuse my language. I probably shouldn't have said that on 790. I apologize. But they BS'd all of the fans out there by saying they were going to be all in. Okay? And listen, I know Heim Bloom did not do what he was supposed to do with the Red Sox pitching. He didn't develop those pitchers in the minor leagues. He didn't develop the pitchers that were on the major league roster. But I'm going to tell you something. Heim Bloom, now that I'm reflecting on this, because Chris and I criticized him a ton, he was put in a no-win situation by this ownership group, specifically, obviously, John Henry. Okay? That's why at least 10 respected major league executives declined to become the head of baseball operations, the GM. That's how they landed on Breslow, because nobody wanted that job, because you've become the Minnesota Twins, the Tampa Bay Rays, not even the Rays. You've really become like the Twins. That whole pipe dream of, oh, we're going after Yamamoto, the Japanese pitcher. You weren't going after him. You were never going after him. You were never going after him. That was another BS story. Okay, another BS story. Respect for the Red Sox organization, for the executives around the league, it's at an all-time low. The people in charge of the Red Sox right now don't have the baseball IQ to pull this off. And I'm talking about Breslow. I'm not talking about some of the other people in the organization. I think they're smart. But when John Henry says, you're gonna, here's your budget, and you're building it this way, you got to build it this way. The problem with Chaim Bloom was he just upset people. He rubbed people the wrong way. He had an air about him of arrogance and superiority, where this kid, Breslow, I think is a little bit more down to earth, has more people skills, and Chaim Bloom pissed off Cora. And that was the end of the story for him. With all of that being said about the Red Sox, the Patriots, based on this introductory press conference and based on the history that we've seen with spending and how they're developing their draft room, their scouting team with maybe Elliott Wolf, I don't know. The fact that Mayo really didn't talk about specifics. I think it's a good question, Chris, that I was asked this week by several people. Are the Patriots going to become the Red Sox? Despite what Kraft does.
It certainly is.
And my answer to that is going to be, it sounds like they could very well be. It's going to be a critical year or two to see what that next step is. But I think that was a great question, Chris. I got texted that by like 10 people in the last week.
God,
because that's what they're envisioning. And you know what I mean? I don't know what you think.
I think I'll take the gas pipe. That's what I think. They turn into the Red Sox. I mean,
but I just laid out what the Red Sox. What is that?
Yeah,
I know listen, it's not baseball season yet, but I had to bring it up because when I was asking Chris, it's a good analogy between the two.
Yeah, this full throttle comment, like you're talking about, when he comes out, Tom Warner, and says, yeah, maybe that wasn't the most artful way of saying what I wanted to say. We felt strongly to win. Now, listen, Mark, we felt strongly we're going to compete for Yamamoto services, but in the end, he went to another team.
That's what?
Wow. Insightful.
Right?
That's extremely insightful. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom, for waking up, propping yourself up to say that stupidity.
But Chris, doesn't that remind you of some of what was being said at this press conference this week?
Yeah. We're going to be pressing all levers, and we're not going to be happy with just one method, i.e. 5 years, five-year plan. That includes free agency trades of talent from triple and double A. That's really what it is, Mark. Yeah, it's if the Patriots become that, I don't know. By the way, odds to win the East, just so you know. Yankees are up plus 160. Okay. Baltimore, Toronto, Tampa. Boston Red Sox plus 1,200. Put your money on them now. They're gonna win that whole thing.
Run to the casino now.
Put it on there, Mark. You're right. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. What boggles my mind more so is how they get away with it. Like the fact that they get away with it, again, it's that whole archaic friggin' region. How they get away with being as cheap as they've been, what they've done with Chaim Bloom, now this clown. I don't know how they get them, because on when you hear all around it, it's all about the Patriots, because is baseball just so dead? And that's another topic for another day. But
that's a topic for another day. But
it's dead that people just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because if they're not talking about it on the radio or on TV, then that means people don't care about it.
Football has become king, and it's just the way it is. And you have Bill Belichick to thank for that. You have Tom Brady. You have the last 25 years, Chris, 24 years to thank for that. At one time, this time of the year, there was a lot of baseball talk. You don't hear any baseball talk anymore. On talk radio, television, nothing. You hear nothing. You heard a 2-minute snippet on the Red Sox, and that's it.
Well, please, Bob Kraft, please, I'm begging you, please. Do not become the Boston Red Sox. That's it. Don't. I'll start rooting for the Diamondbacks. Oh, although I'm a Yankee fan, so it really doesn't make
It
much
doesn't
of a
make a
difference.
difference to
For
you.
all you people out there, please, please, please. Anyway, Mark, good stuff. Catone's Comments was presented by Corso and Catone, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays, every Saturday. Sponsorships available. Make sure you email us. Hey, when we come back, going to give our midseason grades for the Bruins and the Celtics. Going to do it in B's and C's. All that and more coming up.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's
crap?
it.
What is wrong with
Get him on this damn
you?
show.
Lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England feel. It's going to be real.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. So, Mark, we're at the just about at the mid-season point.
Yeah.
Again, we're recording on Thursday. The Bruins are playing now. But we want to give them our mid-season grades. We want to do it in B's and C's, Joe.
Hit it! The Boston Celtics are the world champions, and they have shown the world how great a ball club they really are.
You gotta love Johnny most, huh?
Oh, my God.
DJ. Oh, that's beautiful, Joe. I love that. That's it. And
That's
if-
the
tho-
best.
For those of you listening on 790 iHeart, wherever you are, get on YouTube. Take a look and subscribe, by the way, too. Hit that thumbs up. But take a
Subscribe,
look at-
thumbs up, subscribe.
Yeah. Take a look at that wash, that promo or intro that Joe came up with, because it's pretty damn good. You know,
We're dating ourselves, by the way, with Johnny Most. We're dating ourselves. For
Yeah,
those younger viewers,
A voice.
for those younger viewers, they don't know who he is.
well, you ought to know. I don't care how young you are. Go your history. You need to know history. You can't move forward until you look behind, right?
Oh,
Isn't that
oh,
something somebody says?
Joe. Now he's getting philosophical, Joe.
Hey, listen. When are you gonna? By the way, when are you gonna come up with? I'm waiting for Joe. Aren't you waiting for one of his Catone's comments? Well, something outrageous. You know,
Listen,
Y'all-
listen. Next week, next week,
in the new
listen.
year.
listen. Next week, there may be something that has to do with driving. I'm just
Oh,
gonna
see.
put it out there.
I'm telling you, Mark, Joe, he's become like mellow and
Hey,
It's
that just
new-
means he's
it's
taking his pills. That's all right.
It's a New Year's resolution.
Anyway, all right. So listen, let's start with the Bruins, Mark. Right now they're playing tonight. They're up against Colorado 2-1. But you're all watching this on Saturday. So they're sitting at 26, 8-9. That will change, obviously. Sitting at number 1 in the East, that conference, right? They're somewhere about 4th in the whole league, but the conference makes a difference.
Yep.
So they're sitting at the number 1 spot. But it's different, isn't it, than the Celtics a little bit, where
Oh, it definitely is different.
you look at this Bruins team and you go down the lineup and you look at some of these games they're playing, and what the concerning thing to me is the 9 overtime losses. That bothers me, especially given when they go to 3-on-3 and they have shootouts and they have all these, Pasternak and these skilled guys, and they're not getting that done. But let's go to some grades, Mark. I mean, look at offensively.
Yep.
And it's hard with hockey, because they're playing transition all the time. But offensively, goal scoring, Pasternak is the leader, and he's got 25 goals, fantastic numbers. Then you got Marchand with 19, Coyle 15, and so on and so forth. How do you rate this team scoring
Chris,
goals?
But offensively, Chris, yes, they are scoring goals. I still think they need another center, right? I still think they need a center. But
Well, they're 8th in the league in goals for, and that's the whole league.
Chris, I get that. But when you talked about the overtime losses and overtime, right? And in those games, Chris, if you dig even deeper, they've blown third quarter leads because offensively, Chris, they don't have that killer instinct. We need one more goal, jam it down their throat, and it's over. And they can't get that extra goal to finish it. and then if the other team scores late, they pull the goalie, whatever it may be, and they take them to overtime. So offensively, Chris, yeah, they're 8th in the league. They're whatever. They're playing well. But the style of play, Chris, again, when you get to the playoffs and you can't finish a team in the third period, in the playoffs, it's not going to go to overtime. You're going to lose in regulation.
Yeah. The ability to put pressure.
Yes.
Yeah, the ability late in the games to put pressure on the opposing defense is lacking right now.
They don't have it,
now,
Chris. They don't have that right now.
They've had some injuries. I mean, Patriots was hurt, and now they're skating now again. They're back, so they're getting guys back. I mean, they're getting, I believe, Carlo came back. Lindholm, not Lindholm, the goal, Allmark came back, and so now I'm not sure if they're playing, but they're back on the bench. They're back at practice, so that'll help some. But I agree with you, Mark. At the center position, it's hard not to give these offensive players A's right now. But I will say for the center position, I'm giving them a B.
Yeah, Chris, put it this way.
And we're talking Coyle, Zaka, Patras. I mean,
Chris,
the other guys.
Do you know what was floated out there the last couple of days for the stretch run? Maybe for the trade deadline. They're mentioning Bergeron's name, that he might be getting the itches to come back. What?
Well, they could certainly use him in face-offs, Mark, because they're down.
Face-offs, yeah. Being a third or fourth line face-off guy, I get that, but you're going to go back and try to rely on him. That tells you something, Chris.
Yeah,
if he's surfacing this week.
It tells you two things. One, they're lacking in certain areas on that center position, depth-wise also. And two, they're lacking in some leadership too for these end-of-game situations. So centers, we get that great because I want to move on to the Celtics. And forwards, I like the way the forwards are playing. Pasternak, Marchand, Reams, he's playing great. DeBrus, they're playing well, I think.
Defensively, Chris, though.
Yeah.
They struggle. They struggle at times to get the puck out of their end and dig and get into corners and clear.
They're sloppy.
They're sloppy. That's exactly what I was just going to say. They're sloppy, Chris.
And Lindholm's a culprit of that. A lot. Anytime you see goals scored, especially late, and you can always expect to see him around. Because they get real sloppy in their own end. The transition defense isn't that great. So on defense, yeah, I mean B minus. I mean, it's tough to give a team that's leading the conference
bad grades.
F's and bad grades. But I would say B minus for that defense. No,
I would.
Overall, I give this team a B plus, A minus. But they got some work to do. And in the goal. Hey, look what happened. Allmark got hurt, and you see a number one goaltender, don't you? Swayman was just fine, wasn't he?
Swayman was just fine. So that tells you, Chris, you don't need that platoon in the playoffs. No. Come the trade deadline, if you think you could get something for the other goalie.
And he's the better of the two right now.
Trade him. Yeah,
he's the better of the two with all his numbers. Wins, percentages, all of that.
Definitely.
So overall, B plus, A minus.
And Chris, I will say this one last thing. The Bruins have played well against the teams that they the teams that they should be beating, Chris, that aren't have.
I don't want to say trip with that though.
They did. They did.
Arizona lost.
No, they did. But they typically have done well against teams, Chris, and they've struggled against better teams.
Yeah.
So their record to me is a little bit deceiving when they run up against better teams. But listen, like you said, Chris, they're leading the conference, so. Their conference. So, how bad of a grade can you give them?
Let's move on to the Celtics. Celtics are leading the entire NBA, and it's hard not to give this team an A to an A plus. Okay, sure. I mean they're 32-9. Can we nitpick? Sure,
they're undefeated at home
and everything. But breaking down the team like we've been doing, and when you're giving out these grades and the level of importance of players, it's not just the Tatum show anymore. No, it's not. Which is beautiful to see.
It is. And Chris, he's matured. I think he's taking on more of a leadership role, Chris, where he understands that I don't have to be the focal point. You see him in games sometimes where they're struggling a bit. He's talking to players. He's taking on a leadership type of role. Granted, listen, I know they got blown out by Milwaukee. I get it. It was a back-to-back.
Yeah,
the scheduling was tough. I'm going to throw that game. I'm going to throw that game out until they play them again. And then we'll see how they match up against them. But Chris, the guys they brought in, Drew Holiday, Porzingis,
Yeah.
they worked. We talked about it before the season started. They worked. They're working. And the subtraction of Marcus Smart, everybody said, "Oh, that's a bad thing. He's the heartbeat of the team." No, he's not. No, he wasn't. Tatum and those guys is the heartbeat of this team. But the guys they brought in, Chris, Porzingis, Holiday, they're working.
Yeah, and I give Jason Tatum an A++, not because of the points, because he's averaging 27 a game, but because he's leading the league. He's leading the team in rebounds with 8.5, and he's just behind Derek White in assists. There's your leader.
Yeah.
You know,
What
there's
about
A+.
your buddy?
And you know what? I was just about to say, got to give him an A too, because the way he's working with Porzingis is Jaylen Brown. I didn't see that coming. So he's growing up too.
Me either.
And Derek White, A++++.
If they can stay healthy, Chris, and they can keep Porzingis on the floor, they should be the favorite in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
If they can keep Porzingis on the floor.
And we talked about that. And you know who else I give a real good grade to? Not because of the numbers, but I see him growing up and I see him filling a role, is Pritchard.
Yes.
Pritchard's filling a role at that point, coming off the bench, and you don't worry about it. Yeah. You don't sit there and say, "Oh, no, White's in foul trouble," or Drew Holiday's not having a great shoot. Because Drew Holiday hasn't shot the ball well, I get it, but he's having a bad night. You don't get so concerned with Pritchard. He controls the offense pretty well. He creates, facilitates, he can shoot, and he's confident.
Yeah. Chris, let me ask you a question. Do you think you need an extra big at the trade deadline for the stretch run?
I do. Okay. I do because you know, like you say, Big Al, Al Horford's playing great too, but again, you know, time takes the toll, and Porzingis is
you never know.
one jump, one rebound away from missing a few weeks. So yeah, I think you need to do something. I like the chemistry of this team though, and I really don't want to disrupt it. But you know, their bench is playing better too. So I give the team overall an A++. You?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think. Listen, they're the front runners. I believe they're the favorites in the East, and part of that grade, Chris, is I'm going to give Joe Mazzulla.
Yep.
He's grown up. You and I have both said it. I had to eat crow last week, and I said all the things that he was doing differently this year. We got to give Mazzulla an A too, Chris, I think.
I give him an A- just because the end of the game situations still need improvement. But
still not calling those timeouts. Still not calling those timeouts.
But it's a good grade for a second-year coach. So those are our midseason grades. We're going to stick around with us all season long and have good insight and keep tracking this. Hopefully they end with an A++. So B's and C's was presented by CORSO Law Group, CORSOLawGroup.com. Here we come back. We're going to rewind, talk about the Super Wildcard Weekend, talk about the divisional round, and give you some picks. Don't go anywhere.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CORSOLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. Okay, Mark. So, still the NFL going on. Still a lot of exciting football. Let's talk about it. Weekly Rewind, Joe.
Going back through the week. About a weekly rewind.
And I wish we had the time to really break down those games last week. You know, but
I know.
Time not permitting. The only thing I'll say about last week is, boy, those Cowboys. How about them Cowboys, huh?
Chris, it's hey, listen, he kept the coach, but he kept the coach. That's all you got to know about Jerry Jones.
Yeah,
he
doesn't want to. He doesn't like paying coaches. That's why.
When you got Bill Belichick hanging out there, you kept your coach. Chris, my two big takeaways quickly from last week. C.J. Stroud, Houston Texans. I give you credit. You called it. You said that's a team I don't want to play. Baltimore better be buckled up and ready to play this weekend because Texans are tough. They're going to be a tough out, Chris.
Are you going to tell me Kansas City? You gonna tell me Kansas City's gonna
No.
play another championship game at home?
Oh no!
Oh!
No! Listen, my other takeaway. I didn't think the kid Jordan Love had it in him, Chris. I think it's more about the system than him. But Green Bay's going in there without anything to fear too. I'm going to tell you that right now. San Fran better be on their game coming out of the break.
My takeaway from last week is simple. The Texans, the Packers, now coming in with San Francisco, Detroit, okay, Kansas City. There's a common denominator there, Mark. They're all modern McVay, Shanahan offenses. And that's what's left in the playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So,
it is.
Speaking of what's left, coming up this weekend, you got 4 games starting on Saturday. Texas at the Ravens. It's a 9.5-point spread, Mark, the Texans are getting. Love the Texans in this game. I love the Texans. This is a team that's young enough, brash enough, and the system's good enough where they don't realize they shouldn't be winning. Nobody told them they can't win. Nico Collins, Mark.
So
I like this Texans team. I
know
do.
you do. You've liked them all year. You rode them all year. Listen, I think they're a year away. They get Tandell back. I think they're a 12-win team next year, maybe. I think coming out of the break, Baltimore, it's just their year in the AFC. Yeah. They won't fail. Baltimore by double digits. They'll cover.
I think they'll win the game.
They'll cover.
I just don't think they're going to win by 10.
All right. I think they'll cover.
So, unless Stroud, if he wets himself on
Maybe.
the road, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
So, Green Bay, the other game on Saturday is Green Bay at San Francisco. This is going to be a good one. A 9.5-point spread. San Francisco. Are they that much better than Green Bay?
Yeah.
Are they 10 points better?
Yeah, I think Jordan Love wets himself against the San Francisco.
Dallas that bad?
Yeah, they were that bad. And I told you all year I thought Dallas was a phony team. And you've been on Dak Prescott for years.
Yeah.
Listen, San Fran rolls. Jordan Love wets himself against that defense. They win by like 3 touchdowns, my opinion.
See, I don't know about that line because I think Green Bay has established they can run the ball and run the ball well with Jones. And that offensive line played really, really well. And with the one thing about San Francisco is you can run the ball on that team a little bit. You can run the ball on that defense a little bit. They're good on the edges, but Green Bay attacked Dallas in the middle. It was tackle to tackle, a lot of zone runs. And so I think it'll keep the game closer. But I think you're going to get some rust from San Fran a little bit, but they'll shake it off. But I don't see him 10 points better this weekend. So then we go to Sunday and Tampa Bay at Detroit. Okay.
Detroit's going to roll.
Detroit won their first. They won their first playoff game, Mark.
And they beat the team everybody said was the team nobody wanted to play. And they held on and they beat the Rams. Detroit is going to slap Tampa Bay around. Detroit's going to kill them at home.
To me, that should be the 10-point spread. I'd like Detroit
it should be the 10-point spread. You're right.
Tampa can't hang. And again, the one that we're going to be really, really watching, Kansas City at Buffalo. Mark, 2.5-point spread. Buffalo's favorite.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm rooting for Bills Mafia. I cannot see Kansas City.
Can they both lose? Is there a way?
Yeah, no, they can't both lose. They can't. Listen, I'm going to take Buffalo at home. They'll win it by a field goal late.
Hey, Mark, listen, I like Buffalo too. I can't. First playoff game for Patrick Mahomes on the road, Mark. First time in his career. He's going to go on the road and play a playoff game.
Let's see how he does.
Buffalo's rolling right now. They really are.
I'm going to go Buffalo.
Kansas City, I can't believe I'm saying it. Kansas City doesn't have enough on offense. They don't have enough on offense. Buffalo, believe it or not. They don't have enough. And I think Buffalo's defense is coming around, and they're playing well, too. So
they have some injuries, though, on the back end. They lost 2 guys on Sunday, on Monday afternoon. But to your point, Kansas City don't have enough, Chris.
No, they don't have enough. So stick around. We're going to, next week, we'll see if we're right. See if you can make some money. Parlay it, bet in-game. But Corso and Catone was presented by Corso Law Group. Get on, watch. All our shows are up for you. Subscribe. Give us that thumbs up. Get all our notifications. And make sure you come back next weekend. 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. We're going to cover the NFL, talk Catone's comments. Hopefully he has something like the driving for us. We'll see. That'll be interesting. Talk a little baseball, conference championships, anything you bring to the table, we will be ready. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Now find Corso Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.